I'm the president of the Photographic Society of Philadelphia. And I was so glad that you asked for the link for this meeting, and that I was able to give it to you. and that I was able to invite you to this meeting. The Photographic Society in October of this year will be 160 years. I've been connected to the Photographic Society for 25 years. I've been the president for the last 15 years. And we try, I in person try to keep things on the easy side, the simple side, for people and photographers who want to be more involved in photography and exhibits and all sorts of things. There is enough going on in the city of Philadelphia to satisfy all of those needs. The Photographic Society has, through the years, members have continued to promote writing with light. Depends on what method you choose to use. And the methods have gotten a lot more complicated these days. Here we are with this incredible Zoom thingy going on. But that's the Photographic Society. We want to just keep photography and writing with light alive in Philadelphia and the suburbs and wherever our members are living these days. So thank you all. And now and hello, Alan. Thank you for joining our meeting. And Stephen, thank you. Thank you to everyone who has joined. And now it is my absolute fantastic, great pleasure to introduce the work of Harvey Finkle. Harvey has been a Philadelphia photographer since the beginning of photography. let's just give him all that. And his method of photography has always been to promote an issue. His latest books do exactly that. The Mother book, the book called Mothers, the other, just amazing. And that's really what photography is all about. And so, Ted, thank you for helping Harvey. And I'm just going to let this meeting get going. And thank you all once again. And the cute little redhead is my clone. That's Adam. And tomorrow is Adam's birthday. So everybody should just right now say happy birthday, Adam. And
happy birthday, Adam.
Happy birthday.
Hey!
Woo!
right,
Happy
thank
birthday.
Thank you.
Okay, let's get moving. Bye-bye.
Okay. So Ted, you want to click on the first? Or am I on?
Yes.
Okay. Eileen, thank you for that introduction for me. I really appreciate it. And I appreciate being a guest of the Photo Society of Philadelphia. And it's astonishing, 160 years old. It's almost since the beginning of photography. That's really wonderful. So it's my honor to be here. I'm going to present 2 books. Hopefully we'll get to the second book. The first book deals with the New Sanctuary Movement of Philadelphia. And I like to work on long-term projects. And actually, even though this is the 10th anniversary, which was 2018 of the New Sanctuary Movement, I actually began photographing in the Sanctuary Movement beginning in the 1980s, when it took off again, when immigrants began coming here from Salvador and Guatemala, who were living in horrible political, social conditions. So I began there, and I was actually listening to the radio NPR, and I think it was 1984, and I hear somebody come on and they're talking about sanctuary. And then I'm listening and I hear the fact that people from Guatemala, primarily Guatemala and Salvador, running for their lives to come here. And so the concept of sanctuary, I said, that's 2,000 years old. You know, so it really reverberated for me. And I decided I would like to, and this was a story about two people in Texas who were providing space for people coming across the border near Brownsville and in southern Texas, just walking across the Rio Grande, which was easy to walk across. You don't have to even swim. Ted, you want to put the first slide on? So this is the Rio Grande, and these are some immigrants walking across from the Mexican side to the United States side. So as I was saying, there was this couple who were providing space for these, people fleeing for their lives in probably 1.5 miles from the border in Harlingen, Texas, in a place called Casa Romero. And if we can have the next slide. We have the next slide. We have the next slide, Ted.
I can hear you. I'm working on it. Give me 1 second.
All right, sure. So anyway, this was a place called Casa Oscar Romero, and it was owned by the Catholic Church, and it was just a simple building sitting on these grounds. And they knew that since it was religious territory, the immigration, the migra, they were called then, the ICE of their time were called migra, weren't willing to come on the grounds and apprehend people, but they would hang around, and then the immigrants would come here and they would hang there until they felt it was time they can make a move and head north. I actually got in when I heard it, I have a friend of mine, Angela Berman, who worked at the American Friends Service Committee, and she dealt with issues related to Latin America. And she gave me a letter that I could show to the appropriate people so they wouldn't think I was a spy, or because there were lots of infiltrators into the sanctuary movement at that point in Texas and later on Arizona. So anyway, the two people running the place, Jack Elder and Stacy Merck, were arrested for helping people across the border, and they were on trial, and so I went down there and I visited. I spent a little time, I spent about a couple of weeks there, and I just hung out at the Casa Romero, photographing the different people as they came through. And some of the people knew each other. As different people came at different times. They knew each other, a lot of them. But anyway, they were all looking to save their lives and move north, and not be deported back to those two countries. Can we do the next? Next slide.
Yeah, you can't see it?
No, I can't. Can anybody else see it? Ooh.
Sorry, I need to.
No, what we're looking at is a screen that has a number of slides on them, but no individual slide.
Right.
Double click the slide.
There
All
you
right.
go.
Okay, this is a little out of, this is actually people living in sanctuary up at the Central Baptist Church in Wayne, near Philadelphia, Wayne, Pennsylvania. And they're being greeted by the congregation there, which provided sanctuary for people coming up. Sanctuary was in different places. Philadelphia area was one place where we did have several places that provided sanctuary. Next slide. So back to, so this, again, crossing the border, but the next slide is two immigrants. Next slide.
Sorry, this one?
No, next one. Next one. Good. These are, these are photographs from Casa Oscar Romero still, and these are immigrants coming in. They came with children, they came families, they came individually, but most of them were running for their lives. Next. Again, these are the children playing. And they were safe as long as they were there. Once they left there, they were free game for the Migra, but lots of them made it north. And next slide. Next. This is the border at Texas and Mexico. And this is two children, one on one side of the border and one on the other side of the border. And lots of them were related to either side. So this fence physically divided them, but not emotionally. And a lot of them had contact with each other anyway. And eventually the movement, the sanctuary movement really became strong in Arizona. Which was a place heavily crossed by immigrants, and which eventually had a huge trial that lasted months and months and months, and 11 faith-based people were convicted. This included priests, nuns, and just people from congregations who were helpful to it. Next. I like this photograph. It's Los Americas. It's down by the border. And it sort of reflects, and I like the kid hanging from the post there, and it sort of signifies to me that there are two Americas, and there are people who belong to both sides of it, and for decades and going back centuries, they belong to both sides of it. But I thought that this photograph sort of signified. The situation for most people living in that area. This is still Texas. Next. We move to, this is in Washington, D.C., and this is still part of the sanctuary movement of the 80s. This is a group from New York City who came to a massive demonstration in Washington, D.C. There were demonstrations all over the country. And next. This is a family that settled in Philadelphia and were housed by Finkle, the First United Methodist Church of Germantown. And they were from Guatemala. And he was a union organizer as a teenager. And he was running out the back door as they were coming in, the military was coming in the front door to get him. And usually I think Guatemala had close to 200,000 people who died, were killed during this time. And the studies later were killed by the government, which was just maybe even intent on genocide at that point. Next. This is back in near the Philadelphia area. This is Oscar Romero himself, and this is a person came up living in sanctuary up near the Philadelphia area. I just like the words and the composition of the photograph. Next. This is again Wayne Baptist Church in Wayne. These are two people from Guatemala who knew each other in Guatemala and met for the first time probably a year or so later at the church where they had a sanctuary event, although I don't think either one stayed at the church. Next. This is again Oscar Romero, and they just hung around until they felt it was safe to leave. Next. This is the beginning, the first photograph from the new sanctuary movement of Philadelphia. It's from the book Faces of Courage, and it's 10 years of building sanctuary. So this just describes that there is sanctuary. Next. This is a march in Philadelphia protesting the activities, as most of the things in the 10 years that I photographed protested was the activities of ICE, the Immigration and Customs Enforcement Service, who supposedly had rules to follow, but didn't really bother following them. They would apprehend anybody of any kind. There were times it was said you didn't really go after anybody unless you knew they committed a crime or broke the law of some sort. They just, when they felt like that, they rounded up people and would try to deport them. Next. And this is a group of young congregants. The New Sanctuary Movement is made up of approximately 30 congregations from around the area who support the activities that they perform. And what they do, besides providing sanctuary for different people, is when people go to courts or so forth, they provide bodies to accompany them so that they don't feel isolated, and so that also the institutions know that people are paying attention to what's going on. Next. This is a woman about to go into sanctuary being hung by a good friend. There was a rally for her before she went in at the church on Norris Square. Next. This is the son of whose mother is about to go into sanctuary. She was about to be deported, but she was apparently going to leave, but then decided she couldn't. She had 2 children who were born here, so they are actually citizens, and she didn't really want to be separated from her family, so she went into sanctuary. Next. Again, this is one of the faith-based communities, Sisters of St. Joseph, who attend. A lot of the rallies are attended by lots of people to give reinforcement and support for the people in sanctuary, and try to promote the fact that this is not the way we should be behaving. Next. This is Angela. She is in sanctuary. She's in the church. There's a ceremony for her. She's with her father and mother, and she spent 58 days in the church, in sanctuary. Next. Part of what New Sanctuary Movement tries to do, one of the major issues for immigrants is driver's license. In other words, in the state of Pennsylvania, they were not allowed to have driver's license. Well, what that does, it prevents you from doing many things like work. In order to get to many of the places where you may find work, you would need a transportation of some sort. And so I like this picture. It's sort of cute. I like the kid coming from underneath. And it was held in front of the home of a state senator, intentionally, because the state legislature is the body that will determine whether immigrants are allowed to get driver's license. Next. These are the boxes of letters of support that the government, the state government of Pennsylvania, should provide driver's license for immigrants. Next. This is the mother of Angela, who now works for New Sanctuary Movement, who's actually cheering the fact that her daughter had to stay on her deportation after 58 days in sanctuary. She's now allowed to go free for the time being. She will eventually have other hearings, but ICE cannot pick her up and deport her just freelance. Next. This is another family in Sanctuary at Church of the Advocate. Maybe some of you remember Paul Washington's church, Ike Williams Church at 18th in Diamond Street, which is really a community center for that neighborhood. It's really a hub of activity, political and otherwise social for that neighborhood. So she in Sanctuary with 4 of her children. Next. This is Father Adam Marina. Adam is the pastor of the church on Nar Square. And he himself was born in Honduras, and his father left the country to survive and brought his family here. So I'm not sure, they may have been come up. There was such a thing as undocumented then. I think it was 1961 when he came. Adam runs the church there, and he provided sanctuary for the Angela and her family. And since he was young with the church, a young minister, he had to go to the higher level of hierarchy in the church. And the pastor who was in charge had asked him said to him, you could be arrested for this and you could lose your job here. So Adam said, well, the guy we pay homage to lost more than his job, which I thought was an incredible response. So next. This is Hiro. Hiro is Japanese, and he attends most of the activities of the New Sanctuary movement, and he is from a family that was interned in a Japanese internment camp in World War II by the United States. Next. One of the obstacles, one of the main issues for the New Sanctuary movement dealt with Mayor Nutter, who in the beginning resisted providing. The idea was the police, what ICE likes to do, that's the Immigration Customs Enforcement, they like to make collaborations with local police departments in which they can gather information about people from their records, and it makes it easier for them to do their business. And one of the things is that, so in other words, if somebody's arrested for, say, drunken driving, he ends up on a police record, and if he's an immigrant, ICE could pick him up and claim he committed a crime, or claim whatever they want actually, and deport him. And so they were in collaboration with the police. And the idea, what some cities were doing, where they were divesting themselves of that collaboration with ICE, because ICE is really, well, I don't want to go. They aren't nice the way they do about things, and it's not that they follow the regulations to do that. So there was these. So at first there was this constant pressure put in Nutter from New Sanctuary movement, from Juntos and lots of other immigrant groups, HIAS, then there's the Pennsylvania Immigration Collective, and lots of organizations, as well as allies, to put pressure on Nutter to stop the collaboration. And after a while, he began to pay attention to it. And next photo, please. But eventually, after maybe a year or two of having Philadelphia be a sanctuary city, Nutter, with 2 weeks to go in his administration, revoked that position and allowed ICE back into the picture, which is really hard to understand why with 2 weeks to go he would bother to do such a thing, if I may say, unless he was looking for a job in another part of government. Next. I just like this picture. I like the foreground fuzzy, the background sort of highlights the different people in it, sort of frames the photograph. Next. One of the things that New Sanctuary movement did, they did 40 days of fasting, okay? And 40 days of actions that would highlight the fact that, you know, that we were still not treating immigrants fairly. So this is one of the, this is at City Hall, and it's, it deals with demonstrations that people, or presence that people made themselves felt at city council meetings. And there was there was a good deal of support for the sanctuary movement in city council. Next. This is a gathering at 9th and some of you may recognize the building. I think it's the old post office building. I think it was built during the 30s with the work programs of the 30s. This is a gathering of the members and congregants from the New Sanctuary movement, and they're accompanying somebody who's about to go into the courtroom to a hearing. And the idea is to somehow to give comfort and some to some of the people going through this experience. So this is a gathering at that building. Next, this is just a young boy, and I think he's at the Arch Street Methodist Church. There was a gathering there, and I sort of liked the image of the boy, and I liked the crucifixion. I liked the cross. It is a faith-based community of a variety of faiths. Next. This is lots of stuff that New Sanctuary did was on the street, and they used to march. This is a special holiday that they marched on, and this is Teresa Guerrera, who is who is one of the mainstays of the New Sanctuary movement, and help, you know, not lead, I guess, leading the march. Her presence makes you feel, I like her presence there. She's a real powerful looking person, a very determined person, and a very committed person to what she's doing. Next. This is a demonstration that took place at City Hall, actually City Council, before the City Council meeting. And it was again protesting what Nutter was doing. And two of the demonstrators came in the wrong door and were accosted by local police and arrested. Next. This is Eduardo and with his wife Teresa, and Eduardo is another mainstay of the New Sanctuary movement of Philadelphia. And I like this photo enough to put on the cover of the book. Next. This is a supporter of the spiritual. So I like the spirituality of the photograph, and that's what the movement was about. Next. There were lots of. This is in front of the district attorney's office. There was a multi-demonstration of different religious organizations and active. This is Mishkan Shalom, which is the Jewish congregation. Although this is a mixed pop, this is more than just people from Mishkan. They held the signs of Mishkan. Mishkan is very much involved in the activities of the New Sanctuary movement, as is like we said, First United Methodist Church of Germantown, the Church of the Advocacy, the Mennonite Church at 11th at Washington Lane and Germantown Avenue. So there's quite a number of churches. Next. This is what they decided to do is on the festival of their feast, they would make breads and they would bring it to different people in positions who should be able to influence, or could, if they wanted to, influence the the activities of ICE and so forth, of the mayor, actually. This is a gathering, and they gather regularly in front of Senator Toomey's headquarters. But Toomey never met with him. He would never meet with him. He never came down. You never saw Toomey. He eventually, this was at somewhere about 18th and Pennsylvania Boulevard, and then he moved his office to the Customs Building at 2nd and Chestnut Street. And then there were regular Tuesday with Toomey gatherings, not only about immigration, but other issues, disability rights groups and so forth, who, but Toomey never showed up. Toomey never met with anybody. And he won't be here much longer. Hopefully somebody who could relate to this issue positively will be. Next. This is a demonstration by New Sanctuary Movement in front of ICE headquarters, which at that time was at 16th and Calla-Hill. Next. This is a group of religious leaders. Aldo from the Faith Center in South Philadelphia, where Indonesian immigrants attend. There's Sean Zealot, who's from Mishkan. There's Amy from Germantown Mennonite, and Robin from the Arch Street Methodist Church, and I'm blocking on the two remaining. They're standing in front of ICE. What they were doing is they were giving ICE letters from different people protesting the activities of ICE. So we gathered for a team picture in front of there. So. Next. This is another demonstration in front of, maybe part of the same demonstration in front of ICE. Next. This was a City Hall demonstration that was really focused on Mayor Nutter, and in case you don't know, it's a sculpture it's an ice sculpture, which is really ironic, and eventually it will melt, and eventually we hope ice will melt away too. Next, this is I think this is the maybe a Passover, maybe no, this may be a Sukkot ceremony, and Rabbi Linda Holtzman, who has a sort of an itinerant congregation and is very active in many movements, including this particular movement for immigrants. Next, this also was a demonstration in front of Nutter's headquarters. I sort of liked the idea of the young woman sort of finding comfort in the back shoulders of her parent, with the sign "New Sanctuary Movement" on the gentleman behind her. Next, this is a First United Methodist Church. These are a couple from Jamaica who went into sanctuary, and they were there for months and months and months. First they were here, and then they had to move to 437th and Chestnut, the church there, and they stayed there. And eventually, they were their case. They were, again, it was a case that they were allowed to go free until further determination as to what their legal status should be. So that was the sanctuary movement. Next. We're going to move to mothers. These two books came about in totally two different ways. I mean, the new sanctuary movement, it started when we had an exhibit of over 40 photographs at the University of Pennsylvania in their the organization that pays attention to Latin American issues. So we had the photos there, and the exhibit. Each of the photographs included a caption, but they weren't your normal captions. They were extended captions, because what we did, we told the story of the new sanctuary movement, much of which I told you in the captions. So we didn't have to write anything further about. In other words, the captions would tell you what the movement was about and what it had done. And then we decided what was a book. So we had the caption, we had it. So what we did, so we really, then we needed a publisher, designer, and so forth. But the book was right there. Mothers came out of a different place, because Mother's Day began to really irritate me. Not mothers, but Mother's Day. And the reason I say this, because it was all like chocolates and Hallmark cards. And the reality is, and it really became totally commercialized. I'm not against cards, I'm not against chocolates, but most mothers in the world, including many, many in the United States, are struggling to find a place to live, enough to eat, and that goes for here. I mean, so if that's the end of the commitment to mothers, it really bothered me. So I went through my files, and I got out 12 photographs of mothers from doing different kinds of things, healthcare, taking care of their healthcare, some having fun, some participating in demonstrations, some at homeless, some in all different kinds of aspects, but not to glorify and leave empty that something more should be done for people who are mothers. It's a struggle. So I got 12 photos together and I put them on Facebook, which I rarely use, but I put it up there, and I got a real good response. And somebody I happen to know from a long time ago said, and she has a little publishing outfit, and it's a design thing in Philadelphia, just as small. She said she wanted to make a book out of it. So we got together 60, maybe it was 59 photographs, and of mothers from many parts of the world. And we decided to publish it just with a paragraph of the comment that I made to you about why I wanted to do this, why I did this book. So we're going to run through these, I think, rapidly, and maybe any questions later. Ted, could you? Okay. Okay. That's it. Thank you. Thank you very much. And the questions? Are there questions? With
I'll go ahead with the question. This is Steve.
okay.
I'm assuming, looking based on what I saw, that everything was shot with black and white film.
All but one.
All
One,
right.
one was color. And
We're not going to have a quiz later. Which one, right?
yeah.
I
It's
just make a
all of them.
comment. Oh, go ahead. Just make a comment. It's sort of impressed by, I know it's a very difficult situation for people coming over from across the border, but I was just impressed by the humanity that these people were being met by at this sanctuary as compared to what's happening now. It's just so sad what's happening now. Not a question, but an observation.
Oh, I think it's some of the good stuff is still going on, but most of what you see is chaos, and not very pleasant actions.
Mhm.
I agree with you. It's but it's all the nastiness has always been a part. It's not, like I say, ICE has always been around. It used to be called the Migra. And like, for instance, I'll tell one little story I photographed in Arizona. There was a trial of 11 people, and most of them were like faith-based people, I mean, priests, nuns, religious congress, and they had a Sunday retreat or meeting or whatever, when they get together and they discuss the Bible. Okay. Now they're discussing the Bible and they end up being indicted because sitting in that Bible meeting was an informant that the government put in. Right. And I guess they talked about things that, and he had all this, and so they prosecuted him. So it stuff like that, it's not, it seems at this point, and the last, what's happened in the last two has really gotten terrible. Like what happened in the border at the transition of government was you know, I mean, we weren't prepared for it. And I'm not sure we wanted to be prepared for it. Maybe what we did is the way we were prepared for it. If that's what you're talking about, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it constantly goes on, you know. I mean, you've seen a small, in other words, when you look at the number of people go into sanctuary, I mean, Bush was sending back 2 million, and Obama was sending back 4 million people. I mean, so it wasn't, it's not that they didn't probably, and they might even chase them down in the streets like they do. But, you know, so it's never been pleasant. And it's the forces that are trying to help most of these people, they're overwhelmed. I mean, if you talk to some of the lawyers, you know, I mean, they don't have enough bodies to help the number of people who could be. And when they get lawyers, they get helped. You know, when you get a lawyer, you usually get some benefit from it. You know, you get some protection from it. You end up, you stay here. Yeah.
As the political situation got more conservative, did you have more resistance to your project?
You mean the sanctuary movement, probably, or not? No, I was into it. I'm doing it. The question is, they want. It's good for organizations like the New Sanctuary Movement or Juntos to have people come and want to take photographs of them, to want to expose what they do. That's what they have to do, or else they're going to closet. They're not going to help anybody. So in terms of the organizations, they're usually feeling very good about somebody wanting to come and document what they do. Do I get? I don't really get any bad calls from ICE or anything. I've never. You know, I make better sometime once in a while, but no, I don't. It doesn't impinge on what I do. In a sense. I don't find that. I mean, I don't find it's pretty consistent, you know, for me. Sometimes when the police might feel a little different about what I'm doing. It's not I didn't feel any constancy to stop me or intrude with what I'm doing. No.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you.
That your photography just points out these images that it just brings to life what is actually happening to these people. If it wasn't for your books, if it wasn't for your exhibits, then a lot of people wouldn't even know. They would not even know what is going on. And so I can't thank you enough for being willing to share your images with us. And and I don't know, but I just think it's always important when we see an image and it goes into our mind, and then we hear something else about the sanctuaries, and we think, yes, maybe that is something that I should be paying more attention to. Maybe that is something that I should definitely be supporting, be getting involved in. And your books are an excellent way of sharing this information. And I just cannot thank you enough.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Yeah. Yeah. There are lots of us who do this, who devote time, energy, and commitment to do this. So I feel part of a constituency of photographers and people, activists who do that. Like, I appreciate you say there are a lot of us around who do this. It's really, you know.
Not everybody does it like you, Harvey.
Okay.
Work is extremely moving, really powerful. Thank you so much for sharing it. And you know something, this is going off on a 45-degree angle a little bit, but we're getting used to Zooming with everybody. But when it used to be that there was a meeting and all the photographers were together and you could talk to people and whatnot. But now with Zoom, while you're able to share things, like being able to share those photographs with us would have been much more cumbersome, I guess, if it wasn't for something like Zoom, where everybody can be wherever they are and still see these photographs. But there's one thing that I'm missing, and I just want to show you this. You remember this?
You have to tell me what it is. I can't see.
It's the reader's book
Oh,
of postcards.
oh yeah.
That's one of my favorite books of all time, and it's got phenomenal photographs in it. And if we were in the same room together like it used to be, I'd be getting your autograph on this right now. So wonderful.
Do it. Eventually do it. No. Oh, there's the Jews of South Philadelphia, still home. Right?
Ah,
Oh yeah.
it's amazing.
They were,
Thanks for the book and thanks for your presentation here tonight.
yeah, they were fun to do. Readers was sort of like mothers. I
And Anthony is holding up Faces of Courage.
oh,
Anthony is holding up the Faces of Courage, your book that you were talking about the sanctuary movement.
okay.
Yes, thank you,
Okay.
Harvey.
Yeah.
This is wonderful, enlightening, and important. Thank you.
Thank you. Right. I was going to say that the reader's book was, it evolved the same way mothers evolved like readers. I had no idea of ever doing a book on readers. And one day I saw this little book, maybe about 15 photographs by Andre Cortege. People familiar with Andre Cortege? Right, a great photograph. A benchmark guy, really terrific. Even older than I am, way older than I am. And I saw this book and I said, wow, I have photographs. So I went back and I began to collect my reading photographs. And then I sort of got that I wanted to take more reading photographs. And it got so I became like obsessed. I had to say, stop it, because I began to look for people reading, and which is fine. But after a while, it was enough. But that's what inspired me. Andre Cortege's book on reading was terrific. Yeah,
Well, that's a great book.
thanks. If anybody wants these books, if you can email me, I'll send you a flyer, and you can decide whether or not you want it. I have flyers for both books, and the idea is, how do I get my email address to you? Um,
So can somebody put your email in the chat?
Sure, yeah, okay.
Harvey, if you send those to me, I'll just send out an announcement to all of our members.
Okay, so if they could send me their email, I'll send them the flyer.
No, you send me the flyer and I will send it out for you.
Know something? Oh, okay, okay, with the,
How about that?
I'll do that, yeah, great, yeah.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. I just think it's so important to share different uses of photography. And you know, and I would, if you, could you find me the next thingy, because I need to post something. Yeah, let's see, there we go. Okay. It's there, it's over there, it's Tracy. Our next presenter in July will be Tracy Broomer. And she photographs nature on all 7 continents. And her whole thing, just as Harvey wants us to understand things that are going on around us, semi-political, I guess, and things like that. But Tracy wants to inspire us to look at nature and to just look at what nature is capable of. And so, I mean, she travels all over the world, and her work is absolutely amazing. So save the date, July 19th, save it. I'll send out a save the date. And then we'll just all kind of like get inspired by nature, right? In, you know, July in nature. We'll try. And the other thing I need to announce is that we will be having our 160th anniversary exhibit at the Plastic Club in October. And so pretty soon I'll try to get out some information about that, so you can think about work that you'd like to present in person, framed. And I think it will be really, really good. And I'm also going to invite the Photography Without Borders young adults to submit their work again. They did our last live exhibit, and their work was absolutely amazing. And they do all their own processing, and it should just really be a fantastic 160th year celebration. So with all of that,
Could I say one thing,
all go
Eileen?
have a nice night.
I want to say one thing. I want to thank the technician who made this all possible, okay, which is Ted Lieberman. You hear me? Ted really, without his technical ability, it couldn't have happened. So I thank.
Thank you, Ted. Thank you for stepping up to the whatever. Yes, and thank everyone who attended tonight. Zoom is not perfect. It's not the perfect way to have a meeting, but on the other hand, it's better than nothing. It's better than just not having contact with each other at all. So I look forward to in-person meetings, but on the other hand, I want everyone to stay healthy and safe and in air conditioning. Anything else you'd like me to do? And really, happy birthday to Adam. Thank you. Adam, happy birthday to my clone. Talk about asking people, about thanking people for help. Adam. Okay, anything else? Can we say good night?
Hi, Dale and Warren.
Good night.
Good night, everyone. And thank you.
Be
Thank you.
safe.
Good
everybody.
night.
Night, everybody.
Good night. Thank you very much, Harvey.